Martins Okafor was a man who had everything, born into wealth and privilege. He never had to worry about money. His life was a fairy tale, complete with multiple mansions filled with exotic cars, businesses spanning the nation, and even reaching international shows, and a social life that many could only dream of. Handsome, intelligent, and charming, Martins was the epitome of success. However, beneath the surface of this seemingly perfect life, there was one thing Martins lacked: genuine love. Throughout his life, Martins had been surrounded by people who loved his wealth, his status, and his lifestyle. But deep down, he craved a love that was real, not tied to his money or luxury he could provide. He longed for someone who would love him for who he truly was, not for the life he led. Frustrated with the endless stream of insincere relationships, Martins decided to take matters into his own hands. He devised a plan that would take him far away from the glitz and glamour of his usual life. He would become someone else, someone ordinary and someone broke. One evening, after another failed relationship with a woman who had been more interested in his bank account than his heart, Martins made a life-altering decision. He would disguise himself as poor, struggling man to see if he could find someone who loved him for who he truly was. With that, Martins devised a plan. He left his luxurious lifestyle behind and moved to a small, bustling town where no one knew him. He rented a modest room and set up a simple P.O.S. business. He wore old clothes and lived frugally, playing the role of a broke, desperate man trying to make ends meet. Every day, Martins would sit at his small kiosk, working as a P.O.S. operator. The job was simple. He helped people withdraw money, pay bills, and transfer funds. But it also put him in direct contact with the locals, especially the women. Martins met several beautiful ladies during his time in the small town. They were attracted to him for various reasons: his looks, his charm, or simply because he was a new face in town. However, as he got to know them better, Martins began to notice a pattern. Despite their initial appearances, many of these women were driven by greed. They saw Martins as a potential provider, even though he barely made enough money from his P.O.S. business to sustain himself. They would ask for money, gifts, and favors, not caring that he was supposedly struggling. Some even tried to manipulate him with false promises of love, hoping to secure a better life for themselves. Martin saw through their acts and distanced himself from them, growing more disillusioned with each passing day. It seemed that no matter where he went, people were the same, driven by material desires. But then, one sunny afternoon, everything changed. Martins was feeling particularly low. when he decided to grab some food from a local vendor. The scent of fried plantains and jollof rice led him to a small food store owned by a young woman named Deborah. Deborah was a beautiful girl with deep brown eyes and a smile that could light up the darkest of rooms. She had a warmth and simplicity about her that immediately caught Martin's attention. When he reached into his pocket to pay for his meal, he realized to his horror that he had lost his money on the way there. Embarrassed, Martins apologized profusely, but Deborah just laughed. "Don't worry," she said, handing him the food with a grin. "I will let you have it for free, only because you are handsome." Martins was struck by Deborah's kindness. He returned to her store the next day and the day after that, each time buying food and staying a little longer to talk. Deborah was unlike any woman he had ever met. She was humble, hardworking, and full of life. They talked about everything from the struggles of running a small business to their dreams for the future. As days turned into weeks, Martins found himself growing closer to Deborah. He admired her strength, her optimism, and the way she treated everyone with kindness and respect. Despite his growing feelings for her, Martins was hesitant to reveal his true identity. He feared that if she knew who he really was, everything would change. As weeks passed, Martins and Deborah's bond grew stronger. He had admired her for her hardworking nature, her humility, and her genuine care for others. Unlike the other women he had met, Deborah never asked for anything from Martin. In fact, she often refused his offer to help with her business, insisting that she could manage on her own. One evening, after they had shared a particularly joyful meal together, Martins finally mustered the courage to ask Deborah to be his girlfriend. To his surprise and delight, she agreed without hesitation. "I have always wanted to be with you," she confessed shyly. "There is just something about you that feels right." Martins was overjoyed, but he knew he had to be careful. He still hadn't revealed his true identity to Deborah, and he wanted to be sure that her love for him was genuine before doing so. However, life threw them an unexpected curveball. The following week, the government announced a road expansion project that would affect several businesses in the area, including Martins' P.O.S. kiosk. His small business was demolished, leaving him with no source of income. Martins was worried about how Deborah would react. He expected her to be upset or disappointed, but instead, she surprised him once again.
Don't worry about it, she said, soothingly. We will figure something out. Maybe we can save up and rent a shop somewhere. Touched by her concern and selflessness, Martins knew he had found someone special. He decided it was time to reveal his true self to Deborah.
Months after his POS business was demolished, Martins told Deborah that he wanted to take her somewhere nice. She hesitated, worried about the expense, but Martins insisted. Just once in a while, he said with a smile, let's do something different. Reluctantly, Deborah agreed. Martins rented a modest car and drove her to a beautiful mansion on the outskirts of town. As they pulled up to the grand gates, Deborah looked around in confusion. What are we doing here? She asked. Her brow furrowed. A friend of mine paid for the lodge, Martin said casually, trying to keep his voice steady. I thought it would be nice to spend some time here. As they walked into the mansion, the gatekeeper greeted Martins with a respectful, welcome sir, it's been a while. Deborah's confusion deepened, and then one of the cooks appeared, also greeting Martins with, welcome back sir. Deborah stopped in her tracks, her heart pounding in her chest. She turned to Martins, her eyes wide with confusion. Martins, what's going on? Martins smiled, took her hand and led her to a beautifully decorated room where the words, will you marry me, were spelled out in rose petals. Deborah gasped, tears welling up in her eyes. Before she could say anything, Martins knelt on one knee and took out a ring. Deborah, he began, his voice trembling with emotion. I have a confession to make. I'm not who you think I am. I'm not a broke POS operator. My real name is Martins Okafor, and I am a wealthy businessman. I disguised myself because I wanted to find true love. Someone who would love me for who I am, not for my money. And I found that person in you. You have shown me kindness, love, and care without expecting anything in return. Will you marry me? Deborah stood in stunned silence, her mind racing. She had fallen in love with Martins for his kindness and humility. Never imagined he was hiding such a secret. But as she could look into his eyes, she realized that the man she loved hadn't changed. He was still the same person who had won her heart. Yes, she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Yes, I will marry you. Martin slipped the ring into her finger, and they embraced, their heart full of joy. He then explained everything to her, his wealth, his businesses, and why he had chosen to live as a simple man. As they settled into their new life together, Martins often thought back to the journey that had brought them together. He had gone from being a wealthy, lonely man to finding true happiness with a woman who saw him for who he truly was. Martin's journey teaches us that true love is not about wealth or material possessions, but about the connection between two people who genuinely care for each other. Deborah's humility and kindness remind us that love should be selfless and pure, not based on superficial things. In a world where money often seems to be the most important thing, Martins and Deborah's story remind us that the heart's true treasures lies in the people we love and the relationship we build. It shows that no matter how wealthy or successful we become, the most valuable thing we can possess is genuine, unconditional love. And so, Martins and Deborah lived happily ever after, knowing that they had found in each other something far more precious than good, true love. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.